أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In today's video, we're going to address the story of Ayyub alayhi salam. And I would like you to imagine anywhere in your life where you felt stripped of, completely hopeless, in despair, and in a darkness where you could not see any light. Now imagine Ayyub alayhi salam, that he lived that reality. And he lived where he was taken away from his children, from his wealth, from cattle, from livestock, from lands, from houses, except his wife and even his health. This is a story how a believer protects his iman, his faith, his tawḥīd in his heart, and even like the subtlest form of shirk, which he thinks can take him in darkness and away from light. The trial of Ayyub alayhi salam is mentioned in Surah Al-Anbiya in ayah 83, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَيُّوبُ إِذْ نَادَى رَبُّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمَ الرَّاحِمِينَ. SubhanAllah, I love this dua of Job. That's Ayyub alayhi salam's name. I have been touched with adversity, he said, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. So, Ayyub alayhi salam, if you look at his life, he was blessed with health and, any kind of dunya, the asbab and the luxuries of dunya you can imagine. Everything was taken away from him. His wealth disappeared, his children passed away, his body weakened, his skin, his strength, his mobility, everything deteriorated, but nothing broke him from being an awwab, being a person who every time returns and goes back to Allah, goes back to Allah, goes back to Allah. He never complained about Allah, rather he complained to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about his adversities, about his hardships. Now we're going to study a little about what really was that durru that touched him, that hardship that touched him. Did he think that losing wealth, losing children, losing health, everything is hardship? Yes, it is, but something which he considered where he did not want to give up. And then this dua came out through his heart and Allah accepted it. So during his illness, Shaytan approached Ayyub alayhi salam's wife in a disguised form of a physician, and he said, I will cure him if he just says that you, yani his wife, cured him. And the wife got really excited because she's been serving him and, working as a paid servant in people's houses for over 18 years now. And she's been looking for cure as well. And then she says and goes the story and narrates it to Ayyub alayhi salam that I saw a doctor and all you have to say is that I, cured you, or indirectly through the doctor. And the moment she said these words, Ayyub alayhi salam immediately got it that this is shirk. This is a part which he can never ever do it. And then, he in anger commits that he will, strike her with 100 lashes when he's better. And you can find this in Surah Sa'ad, ayah 44. But this sentence just, would attribute healing to a human being in an absolute sense. Yani, a prophet trying to heal through a human, he would never ever, he recognized the trap of Shaytan, and he told his wife this was Shaytan. This was Shaytan. This was the moment which broke him. It was not his illness. It was not the losing of wealth, losing of property, losing his children, being lonely away in the trash dumps away from the town. But The idea that a shaitan was trying to pull his family into a statement that compromised tawḥīd in his heart and his wife, he, this, just the thought of it broke him. And this is the real, the darul masani, which the real hardship, the real challenge which he was faced with, that I have to ask Shaitan to give me back my health. And of course, Shaitan had the cure because he was the one responsible for his illness, responsible for his causing pain to him. And he asked permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, go and I give you the permission. And Ayyub alayhi salam passed his test. And then Ayyub alayhi salam said, Ad-durru masani, harm has touched me, not up till 18 years of losing his wealth, of losing his children, of losing his houses, but rather where he thought he would lose tawḥīd. And he just quickly went back, like in a wab, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what do? If we look at ourselves, we think the doctors, the hospital, the therapy, the medicine, the this treatment, the that treatment, these things cure us. While he was not, when he says this dua, he was not speaking about the physical pain. He was not speaking about wealth. He was not speaking about children. He was saying, Ya Allah, Shaitan is trying to push us toward shirk, and I will not surrender. And I will not attribute healing to anyone except Ash-Shafi, the Allah. And this dua was a declaration of loyalty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah immediately answered his dua. And Allah says in Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 84, so we responded to him, removed what afflicted him, and restored his family. When Allah tested his tawḥīd and he saw that he did not bow down to anything else than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he immediately responded. And in Surah Sa'd, Ayah 42, it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, strike the ground with your foot, Ayyub. And this is cool water to wash in and drink. And he was new, his body recovered, and healing springs gushed forth. He bathed in it, he drank from it, and Allah restored him completely. Now, going back to Surah Sa'd, Ayah 44, where it says, Inna wajadnahu sabiran ni'mal abdu innahu awwabun. We found him patient in adversity and excellent service. Ni'ma abdu, excellent servant, he too always returned to God. So, before, when Shaitan got jealous of him, he was as a shakir. The angels wrote him as shakir, the most thankful. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls him excellent servant and awwab, the one who returns to Allah every time he's broke. Every time he's broke, he protected his tawheed. And the story of Ayyub alayhi salam teaches us that illness is not an enemy. Poverty is not an enemy. Loss is not an enemy. The real enemy is losing one's iman, losing the sweetness of iman, losing tawheed. Anything which pulls your heart away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the real enemy. And I just want to quote, healing is not the absence of pain. Rather, healing is the presence of Allah's mercy. This Ramadan, protect your heart the way Ayyub alayhi salam did. And with sabr and shukr. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also write our name in Sabreen. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Ma'as-salama.